Hola y bienvenidos, or hello and welcome to our SYA Spain Alumni event. Thank you so much to all the parents who are tuning in and watching this. And also a thank you and a huge congratulations to all of our recently accepted students. We are so excited to have you guys as part of our next class. My name is Bryce Koval, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions at SYA. And I'm also the SYA Spain Country Manager for this year. So I will be working with you very closely in the coming months. As most of you are aware, this year's students are back home in the US, all safe and sound. And they're continuing their journey with SYA by doing online schooling, just as most of the students here in the US are as well in this interesting and kind of difficult time that we are going through. And obviously this circumstance is highly unusual. So we won't talk too much about, the current situation, but instead we want to give you a better idea of what it will be like spending next year abroad. And that is why I have two absolutely fabulous alums with us. Taylor and Josie, if you guys can introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about where you go to school and things like that.
Yeah, okay, I'll start. I'm Josie Barton. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I go to a school named Lakeside, and I'm a senior there now. So I was a junior when I was at SYA, and I was part of the class of 2019.
Hey, I'm Chandler. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I go to Westminster, and I was in Josie's class in 2019. We had a fantastic time. And yeah, congrats to all of you guys once more for getting in. This is a fantastic accomplishment. I'm proud of you guys.
Great. So first, we'll talk a little bit about your decision to study abroad in high school. So kind of how you arrived at that decision and, what made you apply, things like that.
Okay, yeah. So from like middle school, I've known I wanted to go away at some point, to go abroad. And I've always studied Spanish. So I knew I wanted to do something that involved Spanish. But I kind of always figured, and so did my parents, that I would just take a gap year before college. But then a coordinator came to Lakeside, to my school, to kind of talk about SYA, and it was in Spain, and it was during my junior year of high school, and it all kind of sounded perfect to me. So I decided, yeah, I want to do this. So I applied, I got in, and then I was pretty sure I wanted to go, but I was nervous because of soccer. I didn't know if I could play at the same high level of soccer that I did in Seattle. But then I got in touch with the soccer team in Zaragoza and figured out that I could play with a really great group of girls. And so I was pretty much sold at that point, and I decided to do it, and I'm really glad I did.
That's awesome. I decided to study abroad primarily because I really wanted to be bilingual. Ever since I was really young, I was always fascinated with people who could speak multiple languages. And kind of like Josie, we had a coordinator who came into my Spanish class as well. And literally before even talking about the experiences you get studying abroad, they straight up said, you will be fluent in Spanish. And I was sold right then on the spot. I went home to my mom, to my parents. I was like, this is maybe the fastest, most efficient way I could possibly become fluent in a second language. And here I am today, speaking proficient Spanish, and it's awesome. So.
Nice. Yeah. So you guys feel like you still use Spanish a lot, and that your levels, maintained a certain fluency?
Absolutely. For me, I have continued to take a Spanish class in high school, so that's been really helpful. And then also just talking to my soccer teammates from Spain and talking to my host family. I talk to my host family like every other day or so on the phone. So I have been really good at kind of keeping my Spanish up, and that's been super important to me. I definitely vowed to maintain my level when I got back.
Yeah, I'm also in a Spanish class right now. And I actually use my Spanish a lot more in public than I thought I would. I mean, just like random moments, just translating something or just talking to somebody in general. I mean, I end up using it a lot more than I anticipated, which is great.
That's great. Yeah, it's such a wonderful gift, being able to speak another language. And something that you guys are so fortunate to have gained in Spain last year. So talking about arriving in Spain, can you tell us a little bit about your first couple of days, like when you first arrived in Spain, kind of what happened, how you were feeling, things like that?
Yeah. So I was naturally very nervous. I had a really long plane ride over, And I don't know, I had no idea what to expect. I knew that I was excited about it, but I didn't really know much more than that. It was just kind of this big mystery. And I showed up at my house, and my host family, that the actual, like the parents and the kids were still in Italy actually traveling. So it was just my host grandpa there. And I got out of the car at the house, and he was just like the sweetest man greeting me. He gave me dos pesos, which you'll all learn to do very well. And he just said, bienvenida a mi casa, like welcome to my house. And I'm here to take care of you, and I want you to have a great year. And he was just immediately so warm, and all of my anxieties basically went away. He was just so accommodating, and I'm not going to say it was all perfect in the first few days, because there's definitely a lot that you have to get used to and kind of deal with, especially jet lag. But I mean, it was just like, I could not have asked for a better first few days, just talking to my grandpa, getting to know all the customs. I didn't ever wear no socks around the house. You have to have socks on in the house. No bare feet. I learned that. And I just learned about his life. And then by the time the family got there a few days later, I felt like I already knew everyone in the family. And yeah, I have glowing reviews for my first few days, which is very different because some people I think were a little more anxious. Maybe Chandler, you were a little more anxious.
You know what? I was a little bit more anxious, but kind of like you, I had a really positive experience, especially coming from the train station. Like I remember my family met me like really right when we got off. We put my bags in the car, and I really remember our ride home. Like I thought I knew how to speak Spanish, but I just really didn't. Like it was just really,
Yeah.
really like I was trying my hardest, it just wasn't working that well. And then when we got home, I know Josie was talking about jet lag. Like I slept for a long time. I remember sleeping for a very long time. But then when I woke up, the first thing I did was went out with my host brother. We hung out with some of his friends. He was a really excellent rollerblader, and he had an extra pair for me to borrow. So I threw on his old rollerblades, and we went rollerblading with his friends. And it was great. I mean, that was my first time ever being exposed to the city. So he showed me some of the good places to eat, some of the cool places to hang out. And it was just a really fast but really strong introduction to my experience in Spain. It was off the chain. It was great.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and just to add real quick, I know for some of my friends, they were really scared to talk in Spanish to their families. And so that made it a lot more difficult to first of all get to know people, and then also to get over that fear of speaking in Spanish. So just a piece of advice for those of you who are hopefully deciding to go: just rip off the Band-Aid, start talking in Spanish. They know you're not fluent Spanish speakers yet. They're going to be accommodating, and they're going to try to help you. But you need to get over that like immediately and start talking, because your fluency will get there faster, and you'll make way closer relationships with your family earlier on.
That is 100% true. Like, it's so crucial to remember that your family understands. They know who you are. They know the boat you're in. They understand your situation. And with that being said, you should have no shame in trying to speak Spanish. You're not expected to be fluent by any means when you get there. And they're just there to help you along the way. So like Josie said, just rip off the Band-Aid and send it. So go ahead.
That's great advice. And it sounds like you guys both had really amazing host family experiences. So if you want to tell us really quickly about kind of like the family dynamic, and maybe a couple of your favorite memories with your host families, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll try to keep this succinct because my host family means a lot to me. So I had 2 parents, a mom and a dad, and they had 3 kids. A young boy who, when I got there, was 8, a young girl who, when I got there, was 11, and then a girl who was 15, and I was 16 at the time, so she was basically like my best friend. And they were immediately so receptive to me. They wanted me in their house, and they were really accommodating, and they always wanted to be around me, which I loved. And we got super close because they took me skiing over the weekends. Not all weekends because I had soccer, but on the weekends I didn't have soccer, we would go up to the mountains and just, bond. We got along really well. And I remember like almost every night having like Star Wars lightsaber fights with my little brother, watching soccer with my host dad. They, at the time, they had no girls who were interested in soccer. Marta and Maria were my sisters, and they weren't really into sports. And then Juan Carlos, my little brother, was a little bit, I guess, too young to be into that. But I love soccer, and my host dad loves soccer. So that was like an immediate place to bond. And so we just at night would spend hours in front of the TV watching soccer, talking about soccer. And that got me really close with him. And then actually I was so close with my host family that I went back in November. So just, I don't know how many months ago, a few months ago, to go to my host brother's first communion. And so that was really special to get to go back and see everyone. And then over the last summer, my host sister, Marta, actually came to Seattle and we traveled around the US. So I guess that gives you a pretty good idea of how close I was with my host family and how much that meant to me to have that family.
Yeah, kind of like Josie, I bonded with my family over a lot of stuff too. I would say probably the member of my family that I spent the most time with was my brother. I had my mom, my dad, my host brother, my host sister, who was studying her first year in art school in Valencia. So I didn't really get to see her that much, but she was still awesome. But my brother was obsessed with basketball. We would bond so much over basketball. I remember he had like a PlayStation 4 and like NBA 2K17. We would spend all our free time just playing NBA 2K17. It was hilarious. And my dad especially would help me with my homework a lot. He was like a huge history buff. And anytime I needed help with anything whatsoever, he was always there for me. And my mom ran a local furniture store. And me and my friends at the school would sometimes stop through there just to say hey. And she would always show us around like her little trinkets and stuff she had in her store and everything. So it was great. And I would say I went on a lot of trips with my host family as well, especially to like neighboring parts of Aragon. And that really helped me to kind of get a feel for where I was staying as well. And I think the experience I had with my host family really just utterly changed the dynamic of just being in Spain in general. Like I remember when I first got to Spain, the idea of staying with people instead of like boarding at in like kind of like a boarding school environment was kind of strange to me. It was kind of, I didn't know how much I would like that, but it turns out that they were like the core of my experience. They were the reason that I could speak Spanish as well as I could. They were the reason I was able to make so many Spanish friends, and I'm so thankful that I had them there to help guide me. So.
Yeah, that's great. I definitely talk to a lot of alumni who say that living with the host family was their favorite part of being abroad. And moving on, we'll talk a little bit more about like your initial time adapting, your first couple of weeks. A lot of prospective students are worried about making friends. What would you guys tell them about how it is making friends or how quickly you made friends, things like that?
Yeah, I was so nervous about making friends. I have grown up in Seattle my entire life, and my best friends were I love my best friends from Seattle, but they were basically chosen for me based on just who my parents were friends with, which is great. That's kind of how it happens when you're young. So this was kind of my first time where I was like, oh gosh, people are going to have to like me for who I am right now. And we're going to have to get along, and I'm going to have to like make friends, which I don't remember even doing. Like I've had these friends for so long. So I was really nervous. But literally the minute I walked in, this sounds so cheesy, but the minute I walked in to the little kind of thing, once everyone got to Zaragoza, once I walked into the room, it was like the friendliest faces, and it was immediate. Like I made friends so quickly, and it's such a small group that everyone becomes your best friend. Like you are like a little family. You're super close with everyone. And something I guess that you have to realize with making friends is that we're all in a very similar boat, and we're all looking to make friends. So it's not like you're going to run into these like scared people who don't want friends. Like everybody's looking for someone to connect with, for someone to talk to and bond with. And it was, I will say, like very easy to make friends for me.
You know, something that caught me off guard when I first got to SYA was how diverse our pool of students was. I mean, obviously geographically we had kids from all over the United States, but just interest-wise and what people would bring to the table. Like for example, one of the friends I got closest to was from Beijing, China. Like maybe one of the, I did not expect to run into somebody with completely like different, like to that extent, like life experiences to that extent, different than mine. And I think those are the kind of people I bonded with the most. I will say, like, if you are the type of student to apply to SYA and the type of person to take it seriously, 9 times out of 10, you're a very independent person. And kind of like Josie said, everybody there is in the same boat. And with the different experiences everybody have and just the different perspectives that everybody brings to the table, you'll naturally be attracted to just the amazing things that people have done. And that's kind of how I was. I found myself interacting with types of people I just never had even met or imagined meeting before, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like, as you guys mentioned, everyone's in the same boat. Everyone wants to make friends really quickly. So I think, from what I've heard, students make friends really quickly and develop long-lasting, really strong relationships.
Yeah,
So,
and not just
yeah,
with
go ahead.
not just with SYA kids. I have made so many close friends. First of all, my host sister is one of my best friends still, and then just locals from the city. Like you're not restricted to American kids or people who speak English fluently. Like you have an entire city of teenagers to make friends with, and those were super special relationships that I still have, and it's super cool that like every time I go to Spain now, I have a home in Zaragoza. I have 50 people I can call who live there. It's like it's amazing. Yeah, you'll make friends in all different circles, in your family, and on your sports teams, in your ceramics class, whatever. Not just in your school. So it's
Like
really cool.
I still FaceTime kids from my soccer team. I'm still in contact with people from my cooking class and stuff like that. It's fantastic. Yeah.
So how about your relationships with like your teachers, and maybe you can talk a little bit about your relationships, with all the faculty and staff at SYA. Can you tell us about, some of your classes and some teachers that you really formed strong relationships with?
Yeah. So yeah, this was one of my kind of concerns, was that at my school at home, it's been my school for a long time and I absolutely love it. And I love the teachers. I love how difficult and kind of rigorous the classes are. And I was worried that that wouldn't be matched at SYA, but I was totally wrong. The classes are challenging and interesting, and they kind of keep you on your toes. They make you think in a different way and how to apply it to Spain and to the city of Zaragoza. And in terms of teachers, they're so nice and smart and so much to offer. They kind of, like I said before, this SYA campus, this really small room, ends up being like your just really big family. And the teachers for me some of them were like almost felt like parents. Like they were so loving and invested in our happiness, not just in classes, but in every realm. It's kind of just everyone becomes like your life. And yeah, I could call up any of those teachers right now if I needed anything. They're just really, they're special people for sure. And they know how they go through classes of kids every year, and they know exactly how to make you feel better and kind of be almost like another parent for you.
Like, this is going to sound kind of corny, but I kind of see my teachers at SYA as almost an extension of my host family. Kind of like your host family, they completely understand the boat. They understand where you're coming from. So especially at the start, when you're taking all your classes in Spanish and it's kind of difficult to kind of get adjusted, they're just there for you to support you like along the way. And I don't know, some of my best moments at SYA were with teachers as well. Like I remember we took a group trip to Barcelona, and I had one of our Spanish teacher there. His name is Marta. And we were on the train, and I remember like one of my favorite conversations the entire year I had was like sitting next to her. I think I'm pretty sure I didn't stop laughing like the entire time. And it's just small moments like that make everything all worth it, that just connect you closer.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about your favorite classes. Do you have any specific classes that you enjoyed, or maybe trips that you did as part of those classes?
Yeah, I took a sociology class, an applied sociology class. So, and this was with Antonio. I don't know if he's still a teacher there. I'm sure he is. And he taught sociology, and it was basically a class where you learn about kind of the classic sociology that you would learn in the United States. You learn about all the, I don't know, famous sociologists, and you take whatever quizzes on that. But that was totally not what made it special. What made it special was the fact that it was completely applied to the city. So basically every day you would be outside on the streets interviewing people, talking to locals, learning about the city. It was such like a really good way to learn sociology, but also just get to know the city and the people and bring us out of our shells. Like I know all the kids in that class our kind of like a Spanish comprehension was accelerated. Like we spoke so much Spanish with the locals, and that kind of fear of talking to people in Spanish went away so quickly because we were literally forced to do it for this class. So that was definitely like my most memorable class. It really helped me get to know just like the city and its people.
I would say my favorite class was definitely my science class. Shout out to Moss if you're watching this. I would say we probably went on a field trip maybe like once every 3 weeks. We were very, very frequently gone, exploring the surrounding areas of Spain, Aragon, even like places in the city. Something I really, really appreciated about that class was just how experiential it was. Like, yes, we would have lectures in class. Like, yes, we would go through notes and PowerPoint and stuff like that. But then we would take it out to the real world and apply it. Like, I remember we went whitewater rafting, we explored caves. We went to like local power hubs to explore like how they created energy for the city. Just very, very small things like that. And kind of like how Josie said, I learned a lot of Spanish in that class that I probably would not have learned otherwise, especially like really scientific technical terms that, like, I remember returning to my science class this year and only knowing some scientific terms in Spanish, like not having any idea like how to say them in English. And, yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, no, that was definitely my favorite class. And I'm very thankful that we got to have.
And that notion that Chandler was talking about, by the way, just like the everything is applied, and what I was talking about too, doesn't just go for those 2 classes. Like every class, every teacher, even math, like will find a way to bring the city into it, to bring the people from the city into it. And that's what makes these classes so unique and special. Like it's not fair and it's not right to say that you can get like the same classes in the United States, because you can't. Like they're so specialized for the city.
Yeah, so like such a huge part of the SYA experience is, the place-based and the experiential aspect. And a big part of that is the Capstone project. So could you guys tell us quickly about what you did for your Capstone?
Yeah, for my Capstone, so I already mentioned that I love soccer. I'm super interested in soccer, and I played on a team. So I knew I wanted to do something with soccer in the city. And so I decided to do a capstone about the pay gap in soccer, especially in Spain. The disparity between male and female athletes, and especially soccer players, exists in every country, exists everywhere. But in Spain, it's actually like even worse and more amplified than in the United States. So I just wanted to investigate, like, why is that? Why don't teams support their female athletes? And I did this in a few ways. I met with the heads of some professional clubs, men's clubs and women's clubs, just to ask about the dynamics there. And then something that I really loved was I got to interview all the girls on my soccer team. I don't even want to say girls because our ages range so much. It was women and girls, about their experience with gender discrimination on the soccer team. And I have this whole, I'm sure you can find it somewhere, this whole video of all of what they had to say about what they faced as female soccer players. And that it got me closer to my city. It got me closer to the team, and it made me really even more passionate about gender equality, and especially in sports.
Did you do all of that in Spanish, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah, all in Spanish. And at that point, it wasn't like, oh, it's okay, like you're new. No. That was capstone time. Like that was at the end. It was all out the whole time, all Spanish. Like English was not going to be allowed, like no slip ups. So that was definitely a good test of my Spanish, and it worked, and I did really well. So yes, definitely in Spanish.
I would say I definitely tested my Spanish as well. I remember at the very beginning of the year, Senora Roof, the head of the school there, recommended, she knew that I was like really into rap music and hip hop in general. And they actually had like a taller de rap, like a workshop at like the local art center in the city. So I went, and they had like a local rap group there from Cuba. They're from Cuba, and they were running a workshop with a whole bunch of like local teens. I met a whole bunch of friends. Kind of got pretty close to everybody who was there, so I kept going. A couple times during the year, and capstone time came around, and I decided that I could do a lot of things for my capstone. I could do something related to my classes. I could do something related to soccer, like I was playing soccer as well. Then I decided to like kind of take it a step further and maybe like make a rap song. And so So that's what I decided to do. I met a producer who was like kind of in that small community of people I met at the workshop. And he allowed me to use the studio at his house to kind of mess around and produce my music. And so my capstone ended up being a study of rap in Spain. And that kind of manifested into me and a friend of mine making our own EP that was completely in Spanish. If you guys want to
That
listen.
was amazing. It was so good.
That's super cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear some of that. Where
Thank you.
find it?
It was accepted onto Apple Music and Spotify at the beginning of this year. So if you search my name, Chandler Cersei, I think it should be on here on the video. You can search that.
That's so cool.
Thank you. It's called Ponte las Pilas. It's a song about saving our world and our responsibility to kind of invest in our environment, make sure we take care of it. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I met a whole bunch of people along the way, and yeah, it was awesome.
Sounds amazing. Yeah. So it sounds like, Josie, you played a lot of soccer, and Chandler, you made a lot of music. What other kinds of things did you guys do for your co-curriculars?
For me, I committed pretty early to playing soccer every day of the week. I would go from school back home maybe for a little bit, and then I took the Tranvia, which you'll all get to know really well. I took the Tranvia to the station, walked 20 minutes or so, and got to the stadium every day. So that, as I wanted it to, kind of consumed my after school time. So I was just kind of very invested in soccer every day. And with that team, I got to travel all around the region and even outside of the region to other regions of Spain to play against teams. And I made super good friends on that team. So you can definitely like me, commit yourself to one thing or just try a bunch of things. You really can't go wrong. But what I decided to do was really commit to soccer and to my team. And I'm really glad I did. So that was kind of the extent of my extracurriculars.
Yeah, I didn't commit to one thing. I committed to kind of like a lot of things. In the first semester, I did a cooking class, which is really fun. Like I knew very, very little about cooking. I was a horrible cook before I got to Spain. And I do still remember how to make some of the dishes I learned in that class, which was awesome. Also, SYA provided a lot of opportunities for us to kind of engage with the community after school. Like I remember I tutored a kid for the majority of the year in English. And that was that was really special to me, just because I knew that, I mean, obviously I was practicing my Spanish with him, but I knew that I was kind of like reciprocating that work and helping him get better with his English. Let's see, on campus, I ran a photography club, which we met once a week, and it was like just a giant club of artists, to be honest, and we all shared our ideas and actually did some stuff with the administration at SYA. And I participated heavily in the Black Student Union we had on campus as well. So a good like plethora of just different stuff that it was.
Nice. Sounds like a good mix of things. So when you mentioned cooking, I started thinking about food. What was your favorite dish or thing that you ate when you were in Spain?
Yeah, just real quick, because I'm sure some of you have dietary restrictions. I can't eat gluten. It hurts me really bad if I eat gluten. So I went in knowing I'm not going to eat gluten here. And that really kind of concerned me because I know that bread is a big part of just European and Spanish culture. Eating bread before meals, during meals, for every meal is a big thing. So I was worried about that, but don't worry about that if that's you. If you have any of those dietary restrictions, your family knows that they are supposed to and they're going to accommodate for that. I never went hungry. I was not so anyway, just that was real quick. Just don't worry about that. My favorite dish was paella. My mom made it for us maybe once a month, and it was a really special lunch. And it's just, I mean, I'm sure you know what it is, but it's just like a big rice dish with, they made it for me with octopus. You can do it with just vegetables or other meats or shellfish, whatever you want. And it's just like a delicious giant rice dish. And I never said no to that. That was my favorite.
Oh, good.
Paella was also one that popped up in my head too. Like I remember we would do some travel, like for example, in independent travel, we would go to Valencia, and like Valencian paella, like you would just be on the beach and then get hungry, and then just go to like some random restaurant that sat right there on the beach, And
Yeah, it's like the birthplace of paella, isn't it?
it was like the most immaculate food I've ever had.
It is, yes.
Right. And like I used to get the one, it was like squid ink paella, so it would be completely black when it came out, and it would have like calamari and everything was like soaked in squid ink. It was like really, really good. I'm trying to think. I also my family used to always give me this fruit called persimmon, which I'm pretty sure means persimmon in English, but it wasn't like quite
Yes.
our American persimmon. It was like actually a fruit that was native to Aragon, like we were staying. Like you couldn't find it here in the States, and it was kind of like a peach mixed with a mango, and it was like just awesome. It was awesome. It was awesome. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and food, I'll just add, food is a really, really great way to connect with your host family. Something that like improved my Spanish a lot and my relationship with my host family was to just, when dinner was being made, I would leave my room and I would just go stand in the kitchen, offer to help if they needed me. I didn't want to like intrude because I actually don't know how to cook, but if they wanted to teach me, they could teach me how to make stuff. And mostly I would just kind of sit there, watch, and talk to my host mom about her day. She was a lawyer, so she had a lot of cool stuff to talk about. And that got me really close with my host family, and I took little notes about all the recipes and stuff, and I make it for my family now at home in Seattle. So I loved kind of cooking with my family.
Yeah, and kind of like on that note too, I remember I taught my family how to make apple pie. I actually did it for like one of my Spanish projects, and it was interesting because like some of the ingredients there in Spain aren't quite the same as they are in the States. So it was really fun, like bonding experience with my host mom and my host brother to kind of like experiment and figure out how we could recreate that same recipe. And yeah, apple pie actually turned out to be pretty good too. So
Sounds good. You guys have mentioned a little bit already about places that you traveled. Maybe mention a couple more places, either independent travel or with your classes that you went to.
Yeah, okay, let me try to think. So I did a ton of traveling with my soccer team, like I mentioned, just to kind of, you wouldn't know it, but just kind of obscure regions, or not regions, obscure neighborhoods and areas of Spain, which was really cool. And then with some of my friends, I went to Madrid and Barcelona. Over spring break, when you were allowed to travel internationally, I went to Portugal and the Canary Islands, which was super cool. And then by far my favorite trip of all was Paris with my art history class. Oh, actually, we ended up all going, not just my art history class, with everyone. We went to Paris, and literally seeing in person all of these amazing pieces of art that I had just studied all year was so rewarding. Soleil, the art teacher there, was so passionate. She took us around all the museums. I can't imagine a more perfect trip. I learned so much, and we all got really close as a group. So that was definitely my favorite trip. And another note just on travel is that sometimes it's, for me, because of soccer a lot, and for other reasons, maybe financially, because you don't want to, for health, whatever, you won't want to leave your host city. And that is totally fine. I had the most amazing experiences also just staying in Zaragoza over the weekend, hanging out with some locals, going to the movies with my family members. Traveling is fun, staying is fun. Like, you can't go wrong in terms of that. And travel isn't the thing that makes SYA Spain great. Like it isn't. So you don't need to be traveling, I guess.
I would say like I was fortunate enough to see the majority of Spain. I remember like we did a couple trips with the school. So I think the first trip I did with the school was in around, what was it, Jesse, like October-ish?
Yes.
My group went to Andalusia, which is like the south of Spain. So
yeah, me too. I was on that.
That was an awesome trip. Like,
amazing area of Spain. I have a Andalusian flag in my room actually hanging on the other side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember. I think my favorite city when we were there. I mean, we passed through Sevilla, but like my favorite city was like this smaller town called Cadiz. It was like a beach town, and when we were there, the weather was just like perfect. I mean, the sunset was like cotton candy skies, like over the beach, like it was literally a dream. And I think, toward the end of the year, I went to Barcelona, so I got just like more of a city vibe. And then some independent travel trips I took were to Madrid, Bilbao, Valencia. And then over spring break, I had the opportunity to leave Spain and go to see some other countries as well, which I know a lot of other kids did too. We went to, Brussels, Stockholm. We just went all around really.
Oh wow, you guys traveled far and wide. That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So we only have time for a couple more questions, unfortunately. I know you guys are probably in the midst of applying to colleges and things like that. Did you mention your experience in your college essay? Was that something that you
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes, of course. Not only is it like super impressive to have done this, especially in high school, it also, how could I not? I mean, it's literally shaped who I am. It has made me a totally different person. It has made my interests change. I applied for international relations as my major because I went to Spain. It's such a defining factor for me and for my adolescent experience. So I was definitely not going to leave that out. And I know that it's really impressive on college apps. I ended up getting into my dream school early, so that was really nice. I'm sure SYA had a lot to do with that. And I know, thank you. I know that my friend, I'm going to Stanford.
Nice.
I got in a restricted early action there, so I've known for a long time, which is really nice. But it's also okay to just apply regular. Anyway, my friend who was a senior at the time when I was there, Casley, she was applying actually while she was in Spain. And I'm maybe there. You guys still accept seniors, right, Bryce?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So some of you might be seniors while you're there. And just a note about that, Casley, my friend, was super worried about having to apply to colleges while she was there, but she had so much support from the college counselor, Pauline. And for me, I was her good friend there, and she got through it. She ended up getting into one of her favorite schools too. She's at Rice now, and she obviously mentioned SYA too on her app. So yeah, definitely super helpful. Mention it. It'll naturally come up because you'll always be thinking about it. I'm thinking about SYA all the time. It's almost sad.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think I could write 100 college essays about SYA Spain, to be honest. Like, I mean, there's so many like good, different like just experiences and stories I had when I was there that I could definitely like elaborate on. Hopefully I can join Josie at her dream school. We'll see. I've gotten into 3 schools so far, the UNC, St. Paul University, and Howard. And I think that SYA definitely has pulled a lot of weight in that capacity for me. So yeah, it's just, I mean, it's one of the most impressive, it probably was the most impressive thing I had on my resume.
Definitely.
Yeah. And also the one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go. You can finish.
Yeah, it was the most impressive thing I had on my resume, and definitely also the one that I'm just most proud, like most comfortable and proud of speaking about. So.
Yeah. And I was just gonna add, like, just to put it into perspective, like, I'm a soccer player from Seattle. I'm white. I'm a girl. I'm in an upper middle class family. I don't seem that kind of special. But then when you add this element of having gone to Spain, it's like, okay, well, she's a soccer player who played on a team with a bunch of Spanish girls. She traveled around Spain. She learned Spanish. She adapted to a host family. Like, it made me so much more kind of multidimensional and so much more interesting. And just another thing to add is that for your Common App, I know all my friends were like, what the heck am I going to write about? And like Chandler said, you're going to be like, what the heck am I not going to write about? Like, you're going to have so much to say. Like, you don't even need to worry about what your topic. It's going to be about Spain for your Common App. So that was a nice thing to kind of have ticked off. Like, I know I'm going to be able to write an awesome essay for college.
Yeah. So lastly, for the students who were accepted, if you were them or if you had any advice for them, what would you tell them right now?
Gosh, Chandler, you start.
Okay. My biggest advice, this goes for trying things around the city, for traveling, for stepping out of your comfort zone. If you have the slightest desire to try something at all, no matter how many qualms there are, I mean, obviously it needs to be safe, obviously, but if you have the slightest desire, do it. Do it, do it, do it. Especially if your qualms have to do with like shame or being embarrassed by your Spanish or like being judged. Like, for example, the rap thing that I mentioned, I literally came to Spain. I mean, I could barely freestyle. And by the end of the year, I was like freestyling, like not only freestyling, but freestyling in Spanish. Like, that was something that I can't even believe that even happened, you know, like just me stepping out of my comfort zone for that one moment, taking that one risk, literally altered my entire experience. So if you have any desire to try anything, do it, because it may be your only chance ever to do it. So.
Yeah, and so that goes off really perfectly to mine. That goes for coming to Spain too. If you have, and I know you do because you got in and you applied, if you have the slightest desire to come to SYA Spain, do it. You're not going to regret it. No one has ever regretted traveling abroad and learning a language. Even if like you have the worst experience ever, which you won't, it will still help you grow and make you better and make you way more interesting and have so much more life experience. Like you just can't go wrong doing it. So there's my advice for just going to Spain. Just do it. It's such a good time to do it. You'll make friends, blah, blah, blah. I could go on. You just heard everything we said. Okay, now you're in Spain. Speak Spanish, like Chandler said. Speak Spanish with everyone you can. Approach locals. Everyone is so friendly, I swear. They want to help you. They don't try to hide that you're American or that you're not Spanish. Just go up to them, talk to them, ask them questions. It's flattering. Just like if someone asks you about yourself, it's flattering for someone to know that someone else wants to get to know their culture, their story, their language. It's you're never going to be rejected by saying, "Hola, ¿cómo te llamas?" Just ask someone their name. Ask someone why they decided to be a barista, whatever. Like, just talk to people and use your Spanish. And once that happens, once you're comfortable with your Spanish, like, I swear everything else just falls into place. Like, all your relationships will happen. Your classes will get easier. Like, just the Spanish aspect that's the most advice I can give, I guess.
That is the number one golden rule right there. Like, I came to Spain primarily, like I said earlier, to learn Spanish. But with that being said, it's not a given. It's not a given at all. I mean, most of our class was very, very proficient by the time we left. But we also all put in a lot of work into making sure we got there. So when you get to Spain, if you go from day one, just dedicate yourself. I mean, watch Spanish Netflix, listen to Spanish movies, do everything you can to really immerse yourself. Because the faster you can do that, the faster you can get it down, and you're going to be so proud of yourself when you do. I promise.
Yeah, and limit your use of English. Limit your use of English. You're going to have to talk in English for some classes. Like, I was not about to take math in Spanish. Like, I'm sorry, I wasn't going to do that. And you're not going to be taking math in Spanish. So let the English stay in the mandatory English classes and leave it there. Like, leave it in those classes. Don't go back and watch Friends in English. Just turn it on in Spanish. Like, it's so easy to do that, and you're going to get better at the language. Don't talk to your friends all the time from home. That's not going to help you get to know people in Spain, and that's not going to help your Spanish. Just limit the English use and ramp up the Spanish use, and you're golden.
Golden.
That's great advice. Thank you guys so much. You guys are absolute rock stars. You were awesome. The last thing I will say to families and prospective students watching is, please follow us on Instagram. You'll see a lot more stories like the ones that Chandler and Josie have told us today. Also, please do not hesitate to reach out to our SYA admissions team. And to me personally, I'm the country manager for Spain. So please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you guys again. If you guys want to say goodbye.
But yeah, if you guys want to, Bryce, I'm sure there's a way. If you want to like ask me more questions, you can like follow my social media or whatever, Instagram direct me. Bryce, can I just tell you my account later and you can put it somewhere?
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
You guys can contact me as well. My details, I think, are actually already on the SYA Instagram. I did the takeover for Spain a couple years ago, so you can find me there. And yeah, my music is in my Instagram bio if you guys want to listen to that. And yeah,
so if you guys want to just say your Instagrams really quickly so people can.
Okay, sure. Yeah. My Instagram is okay. Oh yeah, this is actually from Spain. My account is Yosie, Yosie, Barton, Barton. And it's Yosie and not Josie because they couldn't pronounce the J in Spain. So it's Yosie Barton. And that's my Instagram. And just follow me and ask me questions. And I also was a blogger for SYA Spain. So you can find some stuff that I wrote all over the website. Josie Barton is my name again.
Her stuff was good. Go read it.
Thanks.
And mine is Chandler_Cersei. So how it appears here on your screen, CHANDLER_SEARCY.
Great. And all of you already know my contact information, my email, but our Instagram is School Year Abroad at School Year Abroad. So please give us a follow there as well. And thank you to everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Come to Spain. Yay.
Adios.
Adios.
Adios.